Welcome to UO Today. I'm Barbara Altman, Director of the Oregon Humanities Center. Our guest today is Andiel Brown, Director of Gospel Choirs and Ensembles at the University of Oregon. Brown earned his Bachelor of Music degree at the UO School of Music and Dance in 2008. While a student, he was a member of the UO Repertoire Singers, Gospel Choirs, and University Singers. He joined the music faculty in 2008. As a freshman, Brown won a spot on the UO football team as a walk-on and led the Pac-10 conference in punt returns in 2007. He became a spiritual leader among his teammates. Brown has considerable performance experience. He has sung with such artists as the Uncanny Sound Boys and DeAndre Cole, and in 2004 he was the winner of the school-wide vocal competition Duck Idol. In September 2010, Brown and his UO gospel singers won the gold medal at the inaugural Disney Gospel Choir Fest at Disney World in Orlando. Andiel, welcome to UO Today.
Thank you.
I can't believe we haven't gotten you here before. You're in your fourth year as choir director, right?
Finishing up third and starting the fourth.
Well, then it was high time to get you here. We're really pleased that you could take the time. So you have such a broad and interesting history. It's hard to know where to start, but I have to ask you, what led to your decision to pursue a degree in music while you were a student here at U of O?
Well, interesting story. I started out as a psychology major, and I was a psych major for 2 years, and I gotten the notion somewhere, I think spring term of my sophomore year, that I didn't want to be behind a desk for the rest of my life. You know, I'm a very active person, and I move around a lot, and you know, if I'm a psychiatrist or a psychologist, that really doesn't lend itself to my lifestyle, my preferences. And music has always been a passion, always. You know, I come from a very musical family. Everyone in my family has musical ability of some sort, you know, whether it be writing, singing, or dancing, or instruments. And I felt it just an opportunity. You know, if I'm in college, I might as well get the degree in something I love to do.
That makes perfect sense. But you had other options, and you had some pretty serious other options. You are also a star football player from the UO Ducks team, and you could have gone on. You were being scouted, right, for the pros?
I was. I'd actually gotten my my invite to the National Combine, which is the big testing facility where all the top players go and they're evaluated by the scouts and the coaches from the NFL. There are a couple reasons why I did not go. One, I had injured my ankle, I believe halfway through my senior year, and it was pretty severe, to the point where I wasn't at 100% by the time the combine rolled around. But I did have the chance to go to the second one, which was it was not as prestigious, wasn't as nationally televised, but it was still a good chance. But by that point, I pretty much decided that, you know, the passion that I had for football wasn't there as it was when I first came to college. And I also thought that I don't want to be doing something that I don't love anymore for someone else. It was more of a personal choice. I want to do whatever I do for me, you know, so I can be happy with myself. And I think it was the right decision, because I wouldn't want to resent anyone or resent myself for making the wrong decision.
It's such an intense world, though. You must miss some parts of it.
There's a lot of parts that I miss. I miss the camaraderie that the team builds, especially during the workouts. You're all doing the same thing, building for a common goal, and you all go through the same thing. So when one person feels like they're just about to die, we all build around each other and say, you can do it. We're all going to do it. We're going to help you. We're not going to leave you behind. And that builds brotherhood. That builds a team. That's where the unity and the chemistry comes, is when we all pick each other up. And I definitely miss that. And I miss the competition, being able to look across the field and say, I'm better than you. I mean, yeah, as cocky as that may sound, it's always fun to know that your hard work pays off.
Yeah, and you were very successful as a punt returner, and you got a lot of high-profile coverage, and it must have been intensely satisfying in a very immediate way.
It was definitely good. You know, it was hard. It was hard because it wasn't an automatic thing. I wasn't a scholarship player off the bat. So to walk onto the team and earn a scholarship and a starting position was very much satisfying. It was like, I've made it almost.
Yeah, it's a great Cinderella story, really. It's you couldn't have scripted it better
Right.
if you'd made it up. I read in a print interview that you gave fairly recently that you had some ambivalence about giving up that shot at pro ball, partly because you were healing your relationship with your father and you thought that he might want you to succeed in that arena.
I did. I was I was mistaken in thinking that the one way that I could please him and to make him proud was to be this successful football star, this larger-than-life athlete. And I was mistaken. He had told me, I believe, my junior year, I think this is soon after I got my scholarship, he said that I'm proud of you no matter what. You know, you are the first of the family's history to go to a four-year university. And even then, before that, I'm proud of you. And it just changed everything in my mind. My whole thought process just left it changed, just complete turnaround. And I began to think, you know, there's pretty much anything that I can do, as long as it's progressive, he'd be proud of me. And he would be proud of me if I went after what I loved, the passion that I had. And he taught me better than to do something for someone else as far as such a big life decision. And when I chose this profession, he literally came to me with tears in his eyes because, you know, he was a musician as well, and you know, he's a pastor right now, and you know, you melt the two things together. So he was just ecstatic.
It's a wonderful story of reconciliation.
Yeah.
We were talking before we started speaking on camera about the sort of it's not a shift in personality, but the physical change you made when you left the football field and
Yes.
assumed this faculty and directorial position. I saw a video of you from, say, 5 years ago, and that was a much bigger, much more muscly Andiel Brown.
Yeah.
You've really morphed into the leaner, meaner choir director, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I don't know how I feel about it. You know, I guess it's a plus and a minus. I don't feel as ferocious. Which, you know, having that extra muscle on, you feel larger than life. You feel like you can do anything. I had won a weightlifting competition at Autzen Stadium, I believe in 2007, and, you know, just with all that muscle, you just feel strength. You feel invincible. But when I took this job, it became apparent that I no longer needed all this weight, even though it had taken me so long to gain it. I just didn't need it anymore. You know, if I'm going to be prancing around the stage, I'd like to be a little bit more nimble. And so, yes, it definitely happened that it was just almost naturally, just the change in schedule. No longer lifting 3-4 times a week. My exercise went from powerlifting to more cardio, you know, to keep a healthy heart and lungs. Because, you know, you need healthy lungs if you're going to sing all day, every day to choir members. So it just naturally happened in the change of lifestyle. And I suppose it's a more fitting look for me, but I do definitely miss the intimidation factor.
Well, you've got all that to draw on. You've got it at your fingertips. Speaking of prancing around all day, you are a very accomplished guy. You are a very talented athlete. You're a great singer. You also dance. You dance so well, and you're always dancing. Every video I watched of you, you never stopped moving. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I guess it's a problem for some. I just, when I hear the music, I just can't control myself. I have to express myself. If I'm not the one singing, I have to express myself in some way. You know, my facial expressions are always going, always moving. But if the music starts to hit me, my body just starts to sway, and then it starts to progress into a rock. It starts to progress into a step. And next thing you know, it's a full-body dance. While I'm supposed to be here directing, keeping time, I'm leaving them to their devices, and I'm all over the stage. Dance is just another way of expression that I feel like nobody should have to contain. And when the music hits me, I go, which is also funny because that's how it used to be in the weight room when I was playing football. The coaches would have to come to me, Andiel, this is not a concert. And, I'd always get my lift in, I'd get my weight done, but they play music in there. And, it's not their fault. People like to listen to music while they lift, but I really like to listen to music while I lift. So it's been something that I've done since I can remember. I just can't control myself. And even when there is no music, sometimes people just see me doing a random Michael Jackson move in the street or in class before class starts, and people look at me like I've lost my mind. There's no music playing, but it's all in my head.
You've got to be the coolest choir director, not only this side of the Mississippi, no doubt across the nation. How does your style compare with how people generally run a gospel choir?
Well, that's very interesting. A gospel director has a wide variety. You have your flamboyant director, which I guess I lean more to that side. Then you have a very strict and stern, disciplined director, one that focuses on intonation more than expression, diction, and precise cutoffs and entrances, which I do as well. But I also like to emphasize on expression and the meaning behind the words. And once you get that, you can express yourself vocally and physically. Now you'll have a director that stands straight up, chest out, and keeps the time. Very strict, very rigid. And you have another director on the other end of the spectrum who's all over the place, which I do get sometimes. You'll see me do both. Mostly I'm, the mover. But at times, especially during the slow songs, the solemn songs that have a lot of meaning, I'll stay put, stand straight up, and express through my arms and make a lot of eye contact so everyone can see the expression that I'm desiring from them. But when it comes to those hard-hitting, fast-pumping songs, I can't control myself.
There are 3 different gospel ensembles on campus, right? And you direct them all. Can you talk a little bit about the 3 different groups?
Sure. Gospel choir is more of a beginning choir, all comers, no audition necessary. So that's for those who feel that I have a lot of people that say, oh, I can't sing, I have no music ability, I'm tone deaf, right? I look at them and say, well, I have a choir for you. Gospel choir is for those who have a lot of inhibitions, and it kind of gets them out of that because there is a wall of sound there. You're not going to be heard, you individually. You're going to come in and you're going to play a pivotal role in this wall of sound that people are going to stand back and say, wow, this is a beginner choir. Because even though it is a beginner's choir, it's very advanced with some of the techniques that we do, some of the expressive songs that we sing. It's pretty advanced for a beginner's choir. And there's about 70 people in there. And then there's gospel ensemble, which is intermediate. So we do a little bit more advanced songs, and the techniques are a little bit more in-depth. The teaching it's a little bit more focused. And you come into gospel ensemble having known a little bit about gospel music, or maybe having some kind of choir background already. And that one is audition only, and the audition process is not very hard, but I would just want to make sure that everybody is on a certain level before we get there, so we can maintain a certain level. And it's usually a hoot, because there are so many people that come from many different backgrounds of music, from classical to opera to jazz to country to blues, and very few actually have a gospel background. But we mold them and shape them into this sound. And it's usually an amazing sound because there would be anywhere from 50 to 65 members that get it. They click at the end of the season. They click, and this sounds very professional, which surprises a lot of people, and the students as well. Like, I've never sang this before, and it's so moving. Can we do it again? And I say, come on, we're doing it again next term. And then the last one, the elite choir, is gospel singers. The one that's the traveling choir, the competition choir, the top choir that everybody aspires to get to. And for good reason, there is a more extensive audition process. And there are less people that are admitted at a time. That way we can keep the competition high, so a lot of people are striving to get better to get into this group. And not just to get into this group, but if you're getting better for yourself as well. So I like the aspect that not everybody can get in at once, because then they would feel like, oh, I've arrived. I don't need to grow anymore, which is not the case, even with those who have gotten there. We are planning our second trip to Orlando to defend our national title, and it's really competitive in the group right now because some of them know that they might not go because we can only travel with a certain amount of people, for budget reasons. But this is the group that travels. We go to the Capitol building in Salem and sing for the House and the Senate at their opening ceremonies. We sang for Lyle Lovett. We sang for Dr. Maya Angelou. We've sang at the Holt Center with the Eugene Ballet. We've done a lot of stuff. We've been in many different venues, and I feel like our prestige is continuing to rise, especially now that we've entered the realm of competition. It really puts us on a national scale, and it brings a very, very good look to the university as a whole and to the School of Music. And I'm very excited that we can do that.
I want to talk to you a little bit about what your ambitions are for the choir, for all three ensembles, but especially the gospel singers. But first, I wanted to spend a minute on that incredible moment when you and the singers were announced as the winners of that first competition in Orlando. Yes. There's a little bit of an interview tape where you say that you just got so excited when the announcement came down. It must have been a big surprise to everybody in some ways.
It was a surprise. We all knew that we went there to win. We had a mentality like, we've worked all summer on nothing but this. We expect to win. But we didn't go in there cocky, like as if we were going to just be handed the prize. We worked for it, and now we had to go earn it. But even after all that, even after the performance, after we knew that we did well, it's still kind of nerve-wracking to stand there and hear the drum roll and then to say, the grand prize winner is, and everybody stops. And, the judge always has to give a suspenseful pause. So we're all just standing there holding our breath. And he says, he didn't even finish University of Oregon. All I heard was the universe. And just the crowd erupted. I'm thinking, did he just say what I think he said? And I'm looking around like, really? Really? My eyes are huge. And the woman who's next to me, who's also in the choir, one of the singers, she starts nudging me really hard, and like, I guess this is happening. This is really happening. We all expected it, but nobody really expected it, because we're a predominantly white choir from little old Eugene, Oregon. We're the only choir from west of the Mississippi, and here we are in the Bible Belt, winning a national gospel choir competition against some phenomenal choirs. It was just unheard of. It was expected yet unexpected, and the video, it's just mayhem. It's the cameraman can't even steady the camera because of jumping up and down, and it was just an amazing experience.
Yeah, we should specify that the minute he started saying university, you knew it had to be your choir because
Right.
you were the only university choir in the competition, right?
Yes, yes. We were the only. Everyone else was a mass choir, a professional choir, a community choir, or a youth choir, and you know, doing this for a long time, many years. You know, they're established choirs, and none of them were from schools. We were the only one. So another thing that was unheard of. You know, we're a school choir a school choir from the Pacific Northwest, no less. Coming down here, the complete opposite end of the country, and taking this thing away. And he said the universe. That's all I heard. I didn't hear anything else. I'm still trying to picture what it sounds like. The University of Oregon gospel singers are the winners. I didn't hear that. I just heard the universe, and then I see all these people in the crowd jumping up with U of O singers shirts on, jumping up, and I guess we won.
Well, you know, you'll just have to go back, as you said, and win again, and then you'll get some practice hearing the full name of the ensemble, right? I can't think of a better way to have people sit up and take notice of your program. It was just such a fabulous surprise and such a great sort of breaking out performance. What are your ambitions for all three ensembles, but specifically for the gospel singers in the coming year or two?
Well, my ambition for gospel singers is the same as it has been when I submitted my my mission statement. It is to take the University of Oregon gospel program and make it a national headline. Make the University of Oregon's gospel choir a national gospel powerhouse. And I think last summer was definitely a step in the right direction. Now, to go and do it again and again, and then maybe find another venue and do it well, do it all over, everywhere. Let us be heard, let us be seen, let us be taken notice of. And no one can deny the fact that we have a tradition of excellence in gospel music at the University of Oregon. And we definitely started off on the right foot. And now we're endeavoring to go and continue that.
You yourself, you talked about coming from a musical family and a musical background. You had a family of 8 sibs in a blended family. You all sang together. So you have this deep in your bones and in your childhood. But as you said, you're taking a lot of kids who have never sung gospel. And you're very eloquent on how long it can take to really incorporate the rhythms, to really to feel them deep and be able to reproduce them. Do you feel like you need to work harder than perhaps in other parts of the country where the gospel tradition is more prevalent and alive?
Well, I wouldn't say work harder. I would say your methods are different. There's different things you need to focus on. With people who have gospel traditions embedded in them from the beginning, there are certain techniques and stylistic points that they have because they've heard it growing up in their family, in the music that they listen to on the daily. So with them, you would have to focus more on precision. They already have the quote-unquote soul. But for people up here, they seem to already have the precision, especially coming from choral choirs. But now what I have to focus on here is pronunciation. You know, we pronounce things different in gospel music. Our rhythms are slightly different. Our vowel sounds are taller and darker, and then at times they're spread out. You know, depending on the feel of the song. You know, you have to modify a lot depending on what you're going for, and you have to impress that on a group who's never sung, or a lot of them never even heard gospel music. And so I wouldn't say it's harder. It's the fact that you have to focus on different things. Some things that some people would say, how do you not know that? I thought that was basic, but it's basic because you grew up with that. It's like learning a different language.
We're beginning to run out of time, but I need to ask you this. You are a man of faith. You're a Christian, a practicing Christian, and you're very upfront about your own faith. how good singing is as a form of therapy, how much gospel can help heal people.
Yes.
Do you bring that into the way you train your students?
Well, to a certain point. I know that I'd say 80% of our student base is not Christian, which I love. This is not a class for strictly Christians. This is a class for anyone who enjoys good music with a positive attitude and an uplifting message. You know, that's therapeutic. But I love the fact that I am able to break down the lyrics to these songs to the students and tell them what this means, what's going on. And if they know the meaning behind the songs, they can express it more truly. They can be true to the message. It can speak to them a little bit more. And then when the song is over, when the concert's over, when the class is over, they can take this music and apply it to their own lives later. You never forget it. I love gospel choir, gospel ensemble, and gospel singers because it becomes a family atmosphere. You come into contact with people who otherwise you would never hang out with, and they become some of your best friends. And I've seen that happen year after year just because of the spirit behind it. Yeah. And that in itself is rewarding.
So not necessarily Christian, but definitely spiritual.
Definitely spiritual, and because my faith is Christian, I think that kind of portrays. You know, I don't feel the need to have to shove that down anybody's throat. You know, that's not what we're here for. We're here to unify through song, and the subject matter just happens to be Christian material, and it's a choice for anyone who wants to be involved. Yeah, we have Buddhists who are in the choir, we have Muslims, we have Sikhs, we have Christian, and we have those who don't practice any faith, and it speaks to them all.
Andiel, we're going to have to end on that great sentence. Thank you so much. I can't believe how quickly a half hour has passed. Yeah. I'm really glad you came to talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be watching with interest.
All right.
We've been speaking with Andiel Brown, Director of Gospel Choirs and Ensembles at the University of Oregon. Brown and his UO Gospel Singers won first place at the Disney Gospel Choir Fest in September 2010. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.